in order to do the next stage of development of this thing, I bought these Expo nut drivers or nut spinners, and the one that fits the nuts on this loco is the 2mm one. I believe it's exactly the same size as if it was 14BA. You'll need to check that, but I thought I'd get the set rather than individuals, so it goes from 1.5 to 2.53. Is that 3, 4 and 5? The 3, 4 and 5 size I already had in you know, those jeweler screwdriver sets, but these have got a particular feel to them. Anyway, but that is going to allow me to do a little bit of disassembly of this device. Just for my record, there were the 4 set screws in there, and there are pads. You see it on the right hand side, there's one still stuck onto there with oil. So the pads, and I think they're insulating pads probably, a fibre material between the lamp and the smoke box. I don't plan on replacing the lamp. The smoke box is an integral part of the boiler. It's one piece, and the steam exhaust pipe coming from the valve block below is soldered in place, so it's not possible to remove that easily. So fitting a larger diameter chimney presents problems, because you'd have to consider, I mean, that is actually crimped at the end with a hole through to provide the steam exhaust pipe, and that's probably been worked out quite carefully. To consider cutting off this tube, because what you can then do after the new chimney's put on is maybe install a Summerland's chuffer on top of the tubing, and you know, you take it further up the pipe to give your draft or draw or whatever you would get from the steam exhaust. So that's one possibility, and then that means you've got the freedom to actually drill out the hole to a larger diameter. You could plant a chimney on top, and you would increase the diameter from the inside diameter of that tube to the same diameter as the outside diameter of that tube, if you know what I mean. If you just planted one on top, because that inside diameter is quite small, and you'd increase it by a few millimeters to whatever the outside diameter was, and that might improve the draw sufficiently for this size of boiler to make it work with the smoke box door closed. But yes, so the lamp's been taken off the front. I have to think about the bell, and the other thing that makes it, well, the other two parts which make it very prototypically American are the cab, which I think is based on what would be a wooden cab. The smoke box door itself, it would be possible to take that thing off the front, remove all those bolts around there, and then fit the clock hand type arrangement which you get on British outline locomotives. You can apparently get new cab kits. The other thing is, if I turn it on its side, you'll see that the front and rear bumpers are just sheet steel folded round, and in fact were on the prototype huge bulks of timber. And so an improvement, an immediate improvement, which I believe is there on other versions of this type of loco, would be to replace that with a properly machined piece of timber, similarly at the back, and then just to reattach the coupling mechanism. So again, that's a cosmetic operation that can be done quite easily. I believe the cab is cosmetic, but does need to be considered before I decide. Before I decide on the fitting of the servo for the remote control. And the intention is just to have a single servo on the regulator valve, on that valve initially, not one on the regulator, but I'll have to have a look at how it performs. So there we go, that very little progress so far, just a few thoughts as to what might happen.